This is the Change Your City podcast. I'm Michael O'Neill, and we're talking with leaders from around the world who are making a difference in the global cities of the world. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Change Your City podcast. The purpose of this podcast is to be inspired by and learn from difference-making leaders who are changing their cities. And we all want to see our cities changed. And it's quite possible, and we've seen it happen before throughout history, it's quite possible that radical change in our cities will come through student athletes and coaches in our schools. And that's why I'm excited to have Brian Weaver with us for this episode. Thanks, Brian, for taking time out of your busy schedule. You're a director in our city for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, FCA. So glad to have you here and to just learn from you and how God's working in and through FCA here in our city, but also it's FCA's around the world. So introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your family and what you do with FCA and really what FCA is all about.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here and talk about this. So, as you said, my name is Brian Weaver. I'm the area director for FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, in Forsyth County. My family, been married to Carmen for 26 years. I have a son who's 20, Jackson, who goes to GCSU, Georgia College in Millersville, and I have a daughter who's 18, who's a senior at North Forsyth High School, and super blessed.
And she will be going where to play basketball?
She is going to the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga
Mocs. Go Mocs.
That's right.
Right.
So super excited. Had signing day yesterday.
Great.
So really cool. Had a lot of people from church came, which was awesome, and her youth pastor came, which was awesome. And so really exciting day, fun day. So now you got me sidetracked. And
FCA.
forgot the question.
Yeah.
FCA.
Well, what's it about?
Yeah, thanks so much. So FCA is a non-denominational ministry that their vision and mission is to see the world transformed through the influence of coaches and athletes, by leading every coach and athlete into a personal relationship with Jesus and his church. So that's the primary focus of the ministry worldwide. FCA exists in 116 countries. So very, very broad, started going international, over a decade ago, continues to grow. It looks different internationally than it does, locally, here in the United States. And even some areas of the United States look different, with the way that it's structured and different things like that. But, so FCA's, original mission and vision and focus has always been coaches and athletes. It's a 70-year-old ministry, but there are lots of things that happen in and through the ministry that are open to everyone, not just athletes and coaches. But athletes and coaches are our primary group that the ministry is focused on reaching. So we have a pretty robust FCA in Forsyth County. We exist in 8 high schools. The only high school we're not in is Alliance, Academy of Innovation rather. And then, we're in all 11 middle schools in the county. And there are about 108 different types of gatherings that happen every week, every month throughout the county, that are tied to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So, pretty cool ministry. Great to be in a place where it's welcomed in our schools, and I believe God's really using it.
Yeah, our schools are such a important, central, strategic part of everything that goes on in a city, whether it's our city or some other cities around the world. I mean, that's where parents and families and kids and sports and academics, I mean, everything just kind of comes together through our schools. So talk a little bit about how schools are such an important and strategic mission field.
Yeah, so our public school system in Forsyth County has over 55,000 students that are a part of it. And then obviously you have multiple family members that are attached to those students. So you have hundreds of thousands of people that are in one way or another associated with the school system, plus teachers. So thousands of employees, plus the district office and lots of employees there as well. So it's a place like you said that a lot of intersection happens. In the SEA is primarily in middle schools and high schools, which will account for around 30,000 of that 55,000 students. And so you have this place that these kids go every day, and obviously they're going to get an education. They do a lot of extracurricular activities in and through the school. Every one of those activities that they do, parents come to participate in the activities with the students. And so whether it's football games, basketball games, or track meets or whatever it may be, there's this intersection of families and relationships and all these things which are give us an opportunity to touch those things through meeting the needs of students. And so the opportunity to be involved with SCA at a school, yes, our first sort of point of contact is the students that we're involved in, but they go home, they talk with parents. I got an email today, actually this morning, from a parent whose children are not yet in middle school. The mom said she would be having a middle school student that's going into middle school next year, and they've heard of FCA, and her husband are wanting to get involved. And so she was asking me, "Hey, how can we be involved
Mm,
as parents? Because we want our student involved in SCA at the school. So how can we volunteer?"
yeah.
And so that's another way that there's intersection, as well. So opportunities for people in the community who know Christ, who want to reach students, can come and serve in various roles. Well, I know we'll talk about that probably in a little bit. And so there's a lot of intersection of life
Yeah.
within the schools, and so there's just a ton of opportunity to serve, to love, to meet people's needs, and ultimately minister to families.
Yeah, and you mentioned, so many thousands of students even in our own city, but just like other global cities around the world has come to the
Mm,
city.
mm.
So I know I don't even have the stat in front of me, and I don't know if you know it off the top of your head, but just I mean, how many different languages or how many would you guess or estimate are in our schools?
It's well over
Yeah,
100. I read some statistics. You can go to to actually the county website and find
yeah,
those. But it's between 100 and 150, possibly a few more
yeah,
different languages that are represented in the school system. And so we have various schools in our county where international populations have grown to quite large percentages. And so it is it is very feasible and I think realistic to say that you can reach the world through reaching schools,
yeah,
because you have certain populations in our county that have grown at schools up to 40 and 50% that have different beliefs than what we do as believers in Jesus. And so there's an opportunity to meet them where they are at school as well as their families through sport and the organization and other things that we do on campus.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that's why I'm glad you're sharing what you're sharing because again, you can reach the world in your city through the schools because students from around the world have come into the schools.
Mhm.
And the way that you gain access
Hmm.
in the schools is through FCA.
Correct.
And I know that as a student, when I was even in high school, I was already a follower of Jesus, but I had the opportunity to grow in my faith through FCA because I was given opportunities to serve and lead and share my faith. And so it not only meets people where they are spiritually. Maybe they're, again, from another part of the world who have never maybe they've never even heard the good news of Jesus. So, it's definitely a way to impact, what we would call lostness,
Mhm.
but it's also a way to develop, student leaders, who are already following Jesus. And so again, love what FCA is doing. I mentioned access, and you already mentioned parents getting involved or other people getting involved. In fact, there were several seasons where I served as a character coach for a local high school baseball team. And it just amazed me that this coach allowed me to come into the school. It was before school started, but
Mhm.
still, I provide some sausage and biscuits from McDonald's, and that wasn't mandatory, but whoever wanted to show up could show up. And some of the baseball players showed up, and I just got to share whatever I wanted to share from the Bible and about Jesus and who Jesus is and how he changed my life and how he could change your life.
Mm.
And it was just I was just like, wow, this is amazing access for the gospel in the schools. And so that was just one way that as serving through FCA
Mhm.
allowed me to share my faith. So talk a little bit about how we could be involved, people could be involved in FCA.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the access is kind of the key, right?
Yeah.
Um, there I was a youth pastor, at the church for a long time, and so, I was when I first stepped into that role, I was really wanting to be involved in schools, and, and if I just simply walk into an office at the school and say, "Hey, my name's Brian, I'm from the church down the road, I'd love to be involved," that's probably gonna be met with some resistance. "Well, who are you with?" We can't just let you in here as a staff member at a church or, that kind of thing. But FCA having functioned on campuses much like a club is allowed to be there as a non denominational ministry that is affiliated with the school system. And it does allow access to the campus and the school system with some boundaries, that are necessary to be there, right? But being able to get into those spaces, SCA really allows you to do that. And so there is multiple different ways that people can be involved. You had mentioned character coaching, and that's a great way to get involved. It allows you to be able to, at the permission of the coach, to be involved with a team for a season. It allows you to spend time with them each week. You can also go to their games to show additional support. You primarily focus on character development, but also spiritual formation, depending on the type of environment that is allowed to be there according to the coach. And so it just gives you an access to this group of kids and the coaching staff for a period of time where you can just simply love and serve and support and be there, and it opens up avenues to share the gospel. And so that's one of the primary ways that we try to get people involved. There are other ways. I have parents that volunteer at campus huddles. They come on the huddle days. They come in, they mingle, they meet students, they help supply donuts and juice and different things like that. And that happens at varying levels at schools all across the county every month. There are the possibilities of when I mean we have teachers and administrators that come to us and say, hey, we're struggling with this area. Can you help? I'll just give you an example. I had a middle school that came to me last year and said, we have a group of boys that meets, and basically they're boys that they've struggled, right? They've had trouble in school, they have trouble at home, and so it's sort of a mentoring group. Excuse me, and I was able to jump in there with the teachers that were working with them and spend time with them a couple of times a week, just listening, just caring for them, loving on them, giving them some advice. I was not able in that environment to share the gospel because those boys it was a mandatory thing that they be there. But it was another way to just be able to minister and reach out. And so there are multiple ways that parents can be involved out front as well as behind the scenes. And that includes other organizational type things that we do throughout the county with events, girls' nights, guys' nights, which will start next month. and various other things as well.
Yeah, nights of worship, right? You
Nights
did
of
it. Yeah.
worship happen quarterly.
Yeah.
And that's another way that, I mean, those usually we supply food.
Yeah.
We need people to greet, to, just all manner of volunteer opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. It's great. We always ask this question at the end of every episode. If we want to be used by God
Hmm.
to change our city, what's a word of encouragement that you would have for us, those of us who are listening?
Yeah, I think, 2 things. I think number 1, pray, right? God, I wanna be involved. I wanna be a part of the work that you're doing. I want you to use me to do that, so show me how.
Mm.
You know, lead me to the right place, to the right people to talk to, open up an opportunity for me. Just really pray that specifically that God would show you and reveal to you what, you know, what way you can be involved if you feel like God is telling you, "Hey, I want you to be involved in changing your city." FCAs in the school system, there's lots of other organizations as well as churches that are involved in the community that you can partner up with to get out in the community and make a difference and reach people for Christ. So pray, God, where do you want me? And then when he tells you, go do it. Don't, don't wait. Just go do it. And I think the second thing is, you got to put yourself out there. I think and you have to, if you believe that God is saying, "Hey, I really want you to be a part of reaching our city," then don't there's no reason to wait until something falls in your lap. Be proactive. If you hear things like this and there's opportunities through FCA or other organizations that make a difference in the community, then go do that. Go be proactive, reach out. If you're a part of a local church and your church has opportunities, that's the first place you could go is go to your church and say, what opportunities do we have as a church that we can be involved in reaching out to our city? And so, the opportunities are endless. And the question isn't whether God is working. The question is, have you taken the steps to step into and be involved in what he's doing?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I think that, at least from my own experience, I think I either neglect prayer because I'm so eager to just get going,
Mhm.
and that's dangerous because then you move with in your own strength and power and your own wisdom, and that just
Mhm.
doesn't work out very well. Um, and the other thing is just maybe sometimes being hesitant to jump in because it's just outside of your comfort zone or you're not sure how it's going to work out. I mean, I'm so far removed from high school baseball that I was like, I don't even know if I can connect with these guys. I'm not even sure they'll want to listen to me at all. I mean, there was a little anxiety there. So it's almost like, okay, well, because of that fear or anxiety, do I just not do it just because I want to play it safe? Or do I just jump in anyway and trust that God knows what he's doing
Mm,
and trust that God will use me anyway?
mm.
And that's great. Those are two great encouragements for us. So thank you again, Brian, for your time today. Really excited about what you're doing, what directors across the world are doing through FCA. And as Brian said, there are opportunities out there to get involved with FCA. If you're not here in our city, chances are there's an FCA near you. So find that director, find out if you're involved in church, if that church is involved with FCA, and please come alongside and partner with your church and with FCA to make disciples of all nations in your city through FCA. Thanks for listening.